Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening to meeting number 474, the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Council. Before we get into the formal order of business, we do have some special guests with us this evening and a proclamation that we want to get signed. And I'm going to ask our guests if they would come up here with me, and we'll file in behind me here by our perfectly centered Town of Grand Falls-Windsor branding. Come on in and keep moving across, so we can get you all in, get everybody in the shot here. Good, perfect. Now, how's it going?
Good.
You guys come down for a visit because you got a special week coming up?
Yeah.
What is it?
Thinking week.
Thinking Week. Now that explains why it says Proclamation Thinking Week on my agenda. And I said, I know it's Girl Guide, I should say, and Scout Week, but what's Thinking Week? So can someone tell me, how about Amelia, you want to tell me what Thinking Week is?
Same thing.
Yeah? Oh, it's same thing. So Thinking Week and God and Scout Week are the same thing.
Basically.
Basically, yeah? Yeah?
Well, it's kind of like thinking about good stuff and, helping the environment.
All the good things that you guys do as guides, say.
And scouts.
And scouts. And the scouts are not here this evening. We got a bunch of fine-looking guides, though. And you guys can take care. You don't need scouts around, I'm sure, right? So what I'll get you to do, if you don't mind, is before we get into the proclamation, I'm going to get you all to say your names so the people who may be watching and maybe some friends and family will know who you are. So we'll start with you, Amelia.
Amelia, hi. Holly Breton. Alyssa Party. Patricia Benoit. Hannah Morris. Taylor King. Bethany Roberts. Emma Caravan. Chelsea Squire. Caroline Ducey.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of good speakers there as well. Well, we know it's important to recognize the Scout and Guides because we really do have a strong organization here in Grand Falls-Windsor, and we're glad that you guys came down tonight to take part in this ceremony, and I'm sure that you very much enjoy your activities as guides. I can tell by the number of badges you got on your, what would you call that, a sash?
Sash.
Yeah?
Sash.
So you got a bunch of patches and that on there. That's from, I guess, all the badges that you earn through activities and that?
Yes. Yeah.
Great. So, what I'm going to do now is I'll grab the proclamation and I'm going to read it. And then I think Bethany is going to give us a hand by signing as the youth guide leader. You can sign your name to the proclamation. Oh, that's what I was told, Bethany. You're getting put on the spot. All right. So, I'm just going to find it here. Okay. The proclamation for Thinking Week. Whereas the mission of Scouts Canada is to educate young people, boys and girls, through a value system based on the Scout promise and law with the ultimate goal of building a better world where people are self-fulfilled as individuals and play a constructive role in society. And whereas the mission of Girl Guides of Canada is to challenge girls and women in their personal development and empower them to be confident, resourceful, courageous, and responsible citizens. Girl Guides of Canada and Scouts Canada are to be recognized and commended for instilling the personal values, respect for the environment, responsible citizenship, and the principle of service in young Canadians. Now therefore, I, Barry Manuel, Mayor of the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor, do hereby proclaim February the 20th to the 26th, 2017 as Guide Scout Week in the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor, to recognize the valuable contribution made to the well-being of our community by Girl Guides of Canada and Scouts Canada. And I'm going to sign this, and I should mention that we are going to have a flag raising as well next Tuesday, I believe it is, at 4 o'clock here at the Town Hall, so if anybody wants to join us in that, they're more than welcome, and that's to recognize the special week. So, Bethany, come over, my dear. You get to sit in my chair now. Alex is going to be jealous. Bethany's their cabin buddy, see? All right, Beth. You take the pen here now, and you're going to sign over here. Okay, and then we're going to a scout to sign the other part after, all right?
Do I
Will you
sign
sign?
both of them?
You sign both of them, put your name there and there, okay?
My last name too?
Your last name too, your full signature, yep.
Okay.
And I'll get all you girls get in around Bethany. Now we're gonna get a nice picture on. Crowd in behind there, the taller girls, maybe you can get in the back. Crowd on, you squeeze in there so we can see you. Caroline, you move up here, oh, right next. Move in there. To your left, yep. I'm gonna get in on one too, if I could. Chelsea's almost as tall as I am now, sure.
She's quite large.
Okay, everybody look at the camera. We'll get another picture taken now. Right here? Okay. How's that? Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for coming down, and we'll see you again. Hopefully, all you guys will be back on Tuesday when we raise the flag. And I hope you enjoy not only your special week when it comes up, but your full season as guides this year, and make sure that you do everything you do very proudly. All right? And give it your all. I'm sure you do. So thanks for coming down, and we will see you in, well, I guess next week sometime for sure. You'll be out and about during your activities, eh? So thanks for coming down, guys. You can file out the same way you came in now. Thank you. Bye-bye. We'll get the other signature, I guess, on Tuesday. We'll give the guides a chance to get out. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Thanks, guys. Well, I know it's been said in this chamber before, but we do have a very strong organization when it comes to our guides and scouts here in Grand Falls-Windsor, and certainly the leaders need to be acknowledged as well. They're the ones that do a lot of work behind the scenes, organizing the activities that they take part in, and it's no small task really to do that. I know that my son was in Beavers for a number of years, and they're quite active, and they do things that take some organization and some effort, and all the leaders that we have for those organizations, just they thank you from council and from the town for doing what you do, because it is a great organization to be a part of. So we can officially start meeting number 474. Bring it to order, and the first order of business is the adoption of the minutes from meeting number 473. Any errors or omissions? Councilor Moores? Good? Okay. Okay, look for a mover for the minutes of the last meeting. Councilor Browne, seconded by Councilor Pinsent. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Any business arising out of the minutes? Hearing none. Disbursement report. Councilor Pinsent.
Mayor, move the disbursement report for this month of $358,622.43 be adopted.
Okay, the disbursement report has been moved by Councilor Pinsent, seconded by Councilor Moores. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. minded? Motion carried. Moving into committee reports, Public Works and Planning, Councilor Coady-Davis.
Thank you. The Public Works and Planning Committee met on Wednesday, February 1st at 4:30 p.m. In attendance, myself as chair, Deputy Mayor Darren Finn, Councilor Bruce Moores, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councilor Mike Browne, Councilor Tom Pinsent, Councilor Peggy Bartlett, Jeff Saunders, Town Manager, Nelson Chapman, Director of Engineering and Works, and Chad Clendenning, the Assistant Director of Engineering and Works. Capital Works, the committee reviewed and discussed the documents that were presented. The provincial multi-year Capital Works funding agreement is coming to an end, and a complete review of remaining projects and funds were presented. There was realignment of the existing funding allocation due to project overruns and or project surpluses. Reallocation was within existing funding agreements, so no new money was required. Some funds were allocated for an assessment of the dam at New Bay, other funds to the ski chalet and trail lighting project. Some remaining funds were placed in the 2016 paving budget that has been carried over. Mayor Manuel excused himself from the discussion of the Corduroy Brook Enhancement Association building. Remaining members discussed the requirements of all building needs, including furnishings and interpretation pieces being completed before the building is to be used. A breakdown of all existing funding was presented, and a request for additional funds be reallocated for the project from the current funding arrangement. The committee recommends that a new Schedule A attached be approved. Now, I'm not sure if we wanted to vote on that item separately,
I think
or...
we should, yeah.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll move that, I guess I'll make a motion that we move the minutes now at the end of this project and then continue on with the remaining minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to excuse myself, though. I'll ask Deputy Mayor to take the chair while you do that. If
Sure,
you could make
yeah.
a motion for that minute, and you can call me back and we'll do the rest after.
Okay.
We're going to separate the minute related to Coady-Davis Brook
That's right.
from the minutes. Does someone want to make a motion to remove that
I
note?
will make that motion.
Councillor
To
Coady-Davis moves, and Councillor Moore second that motion. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion's carried. So that's separated from the minutes. I guess we should proceed to deal with that issue while the mayor is out of the room. Could I have a motion to address the issue in the minutes that Coady-Davis Brook is involved with? Well, there was an adjustment done, excuse me. There was a change to Schedule A, and I'm going to go to the town manager quickly. I'm not sure if there was any funding that changed relative to the Coady-Davis Brook project.
There's no funding change, it was just in the existing agreements, the movement of funds, so there was some increase to that to finish off some
And
issues, but it was still within the funding agreement.
the
So
total envelope,
no
yes,
new- No new money from Capital Works.
correct.
Still the funding agreements.
And the Coady-Davis Brook building, was there any change in that particular piece
Like the funding allocation for that job.
for that one within the envelope?
There was a small increase.
Okay,
There was an increase to maximize the COLA funding. And
Right.
see if everything completed.
right. So perhaps we could have a motion to, someone could move a motion to adopt the changes to Schedule A relative to Coady-Davis Brook, the Coady-Davis Brook project as presented in Schedule A. Does that sound like a fair motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, moved by Councillor Coady-Davis, seconded by Councillor Bartlett. All those in favor, any discussion on that motion? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Okay, those opposed, none. Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, so I think we can return the mayor back to the chair.
So we'll continue on. The Maple School tender results. The committee reviewed the results of the tender for the demolition of the Maple School. There were a total of 7 bidders with a low bid of $308,200, including HST by Adams Construction Limited. The committee recommends a tender be awarded to Adams Construction Limited. Correspondence, Glenn Olford. The committee reviewed a land request by Glenn Olford at the Trans-Canada Highway Tulat Drive intersection on the west end of town. Mr. Olford is proposing to develop the lot for self-storage units. The committee recommends denying this request at this time, as the development plan for that whole area from the Trans-Canada Highway to the riverfront has not been completed. No development shall be permitted until such time the plan is complete. The committee requested that staff contact Mr. Olford to suggest other areas of town and the proposal could be approved. Business application, used furniture, appliance, and pawn shop. The committee reviewed a request that was received from Eddie and Pearl Wilcox to open a used furniture, appliance store and pawn shop at 1B Queensway, which is in a commercial general zone. The town's regulations do not permit a pawn shop in any area within the town. Mr. Wilcox inquired why pawn shops were not permitted and requested a change in the regulations. The committee recommends that staff follow up with other jurisdictions that permit pawn shops to see if there are any special requirements or concerns. Also, staff should consult with the municipal police chief to get his opinion and report back to the committee. Signage policy. The committee was presented with a proposed change to the development regulations under Section 13 of signs and advertisements under the signage policy in order to keep current. The committee recommends adopting the revised signage policy and also recommends staff move forward with the proposed regulation change. Corduroy subdivision. The committee reviewed a request from Corduroy Developers Limited to purchase a parcel of land owned by the town that they need to continue with the development along Ibneys Road. They have requested a fair price and also inquired if the tax arrangement for unsold land be reviewed, as they consider it too high for vacant land and may prohibit desire to continue development. The committee recommends the parcel of land required be sold for $20,000 per acre to Corduroy Developers Limited, but defer the tax inquiry to the Finance and Administration Committee. Ms. Ballard, 216 Main Street West. The committee was updated on the conversation with Mrs. Ballard regarding the water issue at her residence. She has no desire to move or sell her property and would prefer a solution. It was suggested that jacking up the house a few feet would help alleviate the issue. This was a proposed course of action by the developer of Blackmore Street before they went bankrupt, and it has never been done. The committee requested that staff get a quote on jacking up the house and associated work and report back to the committee. Mr. McDonald's property, 2nd Avenue. The committee reviewed an offer from Mr. McDonald to transfer ownership of the property at 1 2nd Avenue to the town as compensation for back taxes owed on the property at 44 Memorial Avenue. The committee recommends that this request be deferred to the Finance and Administration Committee. Warhol Investments. The committee was updated on the proposed developments of the area on Lincoln Road and the old Club 63 property by Warhol Investments. A sketch of the proposed plan was discussed. The dental clinic is going through the process, but Mr. McCann was inquiring if the submitted proposal for long-term care facilities and possibly purchasing and redeveloping the existing mini mall. If approved in principle, he could approach owners of the adjacent properties to complete the overall development plan. The committee agrees with the concept in principle, but would need to see more details of the overall plan before recommending formal approval. Residential concerns and complaints. The committee discussed a proposal by the Director of Engineering and Works to have all concerns complaints deferred to the Public Works Department rather than have residents continue to report to the counselors. The intent was to have the residents provide the details firsthand to the frontline staff for proper recording and help alleviate the numerous requests that council receive. The committee acknowledges that this request may work, but felt it important that all council be available to the public to discuss their concerns. All members agreed that this was a very integral part of being a counselor. The committee does recommend that when a counselor is contacted or approached by residents, the proper information be collected and forwarded to the correct department head for action. It is essential to get details of the concerns, complaints, and contact information, including name, address, and phone number. Our meeting adjourned at 7:15 p.m. Now I move the recommendations and the report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Coady-Davis. Looking for a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Bartlett. Any discussion, comment on the Public Works and Planning minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Finance and Administration, Councillor Pinsent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Administration Committee met at 4:30 on Thursday, February 2nd. Present, myself as chair, Councillor Peggy Bartlett, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillors Amy Coady-Davis, Darren Finn, and Bruce Morris. Staff, Barry Griffin, Director of Finance and HR, and Jeff Saunders, Town Manager. Taxation Levy Report. The committee reviewed the Taxation Levy Report for 2017. Total taxes levied is $14,853,443. Based on the levy, we require $117,500 of additional revenue through assessment growth to meet the budget target. Defined Benefit Pension Plan is the annual report. The committee reviewed the Defined Benefit Pension Plan annual report. Total funds as of December 31st, 2016 were $8,424,988. Total return for the year was $579,131, or 6.1% return. The Director of Finance noticed that the valuation is in the process of being completed for that date. Salt Inventory Expense Report. The committee reviewed the salt usage for 2016 is 1,144 tons. Total cost for this year is $126,605. The salt expense exceeded the revised budget by $34,605. Provincial Federal Funding Agreement, Wastewater Treatment. The committee reviewed the Provincial Federal Funding Agreement for wastewater treatment. Total project costs are $9,751,143. Federal contribution will be $3,250,381, with the province putting in $3,575,419. The town share is $2,925,343. The agreement allows for the completion in 2020. The committee recommends we enter into these agreements. Cost of living allowance. The committee reviewed the rate of inflation in Newfoundland and Labrador for 2016. Inflation for the year was 4.1% compared to 1.5% nationally. Due to terms of the collective agreement, employees are due a 1% cost of living adjustment estimated to be cost $71,500. Committee recommends this adjustment be paid out. Fuel cost. The committee reviewed the fuel cost for 2016. Total cost of diesel for the year was $137,420. Total cost of gas for the year was $95,296. Total fuel cost decreased by $27,296 over the previous year. This decrease was due to price declines. Total usage was on par with the previous year. Disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report for February 2nd. The committee recommends it be forwarded to the next council agenda. Group insurance taxation. The committee discussed the issue of federal taxation of employee group insurance payments. The committee reviewed communication prepared by our pension consultant. The committee strongly opposes this taxation and recommends council support opposition to this as well. Bronze statue. Gordon Pinsent. The committee discussed a proposal to create a bronze statue of Gordon Pinsent. The committee recommends that we look into ways of funding this in partnership with community groups. The meeting adjourned at 7 p.m., and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Pinsent, seconded by Councillor Moores. Any discussion on the Finance and Admin minutes. Deputy Mayor Finn?
Well, Mr. Mayor, probably it's appropriate, if you wish, that we could discuss the federal funding agreement that we're entering into in these minutes, which commits the town to $2.9 million on a $7.9 million announcement. Of course, all council was present, or most members of council were present. Some had other working commitments for the announcement right here in the chambers on Tuesday, where the Premier attended, and MP Scott Sims on behalf of the federal government to commit that funding, 9.7, for the second level of treatment to our wastewater treatment plant. So I think for the benefit of the public, they should know that project is underway. It's a project that will have engineering done this year, and we'll see construction over the next 2018, 19 and 20. Is that a 3-year, would that run 3 years? Completed in 2020. So it's a significant project. The town we're already well advanced, is worth knowing, the community knowing, or being reminded if they don't already remember or know, that the town has already committed $6.5 million back in the early 90s, so 6.9 million or 6.5? 6.5 million. I have some notes on it. Back in the 90s, and that probably translates into, I don't know what the present value of 6.4 is 30 years later. Our Director of Finance calculator down there, maybe I'll tell me that in a minute. But in any case, it's a big investment. That allowed us to build the building down there where we removed the solid waste from in the first lagoon that we have. So we have a first aerated lagoon, and this phase is a second aerated lagoon. Prior to the mid-90s, the town we had 7 direct outflows into the Exploits River. So that changed in the mid-90s. And so we have very good wastewater treatment going on right now, something the community should be proud of. And this next level will make it, bring it to another pristine level. I fail to have the bacterial scientific information that I could report on that, but it does make the water pristine because we do spill into a freshwater river. So I just wanted to add that. I don't know if you wanted to make any comment. There are other councillors who were all present and part of that announcement. Yeah, and of course, thank you, Town Manager. It'll allow us to meet the new federal government wastewater effluent regulations, which come into force in the year 2020. And this initiative is very much driven by the federal government in their capital infrastructure plans, in that they're directing money to improve wastewater effluent emissions or outflows across Canada. So the province is a part of that. Our community signed on to that in this council, and that's what that's all about. So I just wanted to add that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, and as noted, I mean, we should say, one of the first, I guess, communities to be in full compliance as well, as most people have been following the news, I guess, in the last year or two particularly. There's a lot of discussion around wastewater and challenges that exist, particularly in our province, in other provinces as well, and the federal government urging municipalities to move to full compliance. So, as you said, this was a project that was planned back when the original phase was constructed in 1997. The funding was not available until now, and I guess, something that was mentioned at the press release the other day, the fact that, the industrialization of the river now, with the mill being demolished, and us, I guess, focusing more intently on tourism in the future, this is also an important step, as tourists these days are very environmentally conscious, and they want to make sure that, it's a good thing, obviously, for the exploits, for the habitat, for the fisher people, for the tourists. And as I mentioned the other day at the press conference, and I'll mention again, publicly this evening, a lot of credit certainly of why we are enjoying an abundance of salmon on the Exploits River these days, and that the river has come to such prominence, I guess, over the years, is thanks to the Environmental Resource Management Association, or locally known as IRMA, and Mr. Fred Parsons, who has been general manager for some 25 years, I think, and if not more. And there were a lot of people who got together in the early 1980s and recognized that, you know, something needed to be done to help the Atlantic salmon populations and the return on the Exploits River. And at the time, I believe in the 1970s, the return was somewhere around 1,700 fish. And in recent years, we've seen returns as high as 50,000. And I don't think in the last couple of years we've been up around 50, been more around the 30s, but still a significant increase. And the people who have been involved with IRMA over the years certainly deserve acknowledgement and credit for what they've done. And I'm sure it's a proud moment for them to know that now nothing but the most pristine water, the most pristine effluent is going to be going into the Exploits River, and that will help advance our tourism strategy as well along the Exploits. So thanks for pointing that out, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments or questions, etc., on the Finance and Administration minutes? Hearing none. Sorry, Councillor Bartlett, yeah?
The issue of the bronze statue for Gordon Pinsent. This is just for the public's benefit. This is just one item that has been discussed at this committee level, and it's been discussed at a couple of others. I would encourage anybody who has an interest in the public in recognizing and honoring somebody like Mr. Pinsent, and is interested in doing something and go forward, to contact maybe myself or Mr. Hennessy, Gary Hennessy, and express. You know, they can easily email us or reach out by phone to contact us. Sometimes we've got lots of great ideas, but it's not always council that can actually take it and execute it. There's a lot of thought and a lot of recommendations that have gone into, you know, how do we honor our golden boy, our chosen one, right? But for sure, if anybody has any suggestions, any ideas on how we could go about this, or maybe we'd like to strike up a little committee or a little task force or a little group that could be working on this, we would certainly welcome that. Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. We would welcome the efforts of locals to be able to champion that cause if possible. And I should mention, I guess, and it's just my own recollection, I guess, we refer to it as a bronze statue, but not necessarily a bronze statue. I guess we call it a bronze statue just because that's the typical form of a statue, but I think, you know, it doesn't have to be a bronze statue. It could be any statue that would suffice of Mr. Pinsent. And of course, he's already recognized in a couple of areas in town with Pinsent Drive and also the Gordon Pinsent Center for the Arts, but no doubt he's our most famous person, and has done really, really well for himself over the years, and has done a lot for our community and our province and our country. He's the supreme Newfoundlander, right? Anybody that follows the 22, or he's the codfather as well, is he? Yeah. All right. So, and many more roles besides, but I think anybody would agree that if we were able to practically and feasibly put a statue of Gordon Pinsent somewhere in our town in the appropriate location, that it would be a good thing. So we're just starting to initiate, to go down that path to explore how we may be able to accomplish just that. So thanks for that, Councillor Bartlett. Any other comments on the Finance and Administration minutes? Hearing none, we've already got a mover and a seconder, so all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Now, we do have some housekeeping to take care of in the form of resolutions. Councillor Pinsent, if you would take those one at a time, please. We got 3 in total, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And of course, sticking with wastewater, this is going to be the official acceptance of the proposals, both federal and provincial. Reference wastewater treatment facility expansion, project number 17, NRP 17 Provincial Territorial Infrastructure Component, PTIC. Whereas the province and the council have agreed to enter into a municipal infrastructure agreement for the financing of the project outlined in Schedule A, dated February 15th, 2017, hereafter referred to as the Works. We have agreed to cost not in excess of $10,752,943, which amounts to $9,751,143 after the GST-HST rebate calculation. Whereas the cost-sharing funding for this agreement is as follows. Provincial, $3,575,419. Federal component, $3,250,381. And municipal government will be responsible for $2,925,343. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and clerk are authorized to enter into this agreement on behalf of council. I propose this amendment.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Pinsent, seconded by Deputy Mayor Finn. Any discussion on the resolution? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Resolution number 2, Councillor Pinsent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I get to read almost exactly the same thing, only for this is the federal portion that we will accept. Reference wastewater treatment facility expansion, project number 17, NRP 17-00005, New Canada Building Fund, Provincial Territorial Infrastructure Component, National and Regional Projects. Whereas the federal government and the council have agreed to enter into a municipal infrastructure agreement for the financing of the project outlined in Schedule A, dated February 15, 2017, hereafter referred to as the Works, and have agreed to cost not in excess of $10,752,943, which amounts to $9,751,143 after the GST-HST rebate calculation. Whereas the cost of shared funding for this agreement is as follows. Provincial government component, $3,575,419. Federal government, $3,250,381. And a municipal government of $2,925,343. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and clerk are authorized to enter into this agreement on behalf of council. I propose this resolution.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Pinsent, seconded by Deputy Mayor Finn. Any discussion on the resolution? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. And the third and final resolution, Councillor Pinsent, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Revised Schedule A, Multi-Year Capital Works Program. Whereas the town of Falls-Windsor qualifies under Provincial Multi-Year Capital Works Program. Whereas all projects and funding allocation under this agreement must be approved through the Department of Municipal Affairs. And whereas the town of Falls-Windsor has available funding remaining in the Multi-Year Capital Works Program and has to reprofile existing funding. Therefore, be it resolved that Schedule A be revised and funding be reprofiled as per attached revised Schedule A. I propose this resolution.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Pinsent, seconded by Deputy Mayor Finn. Any discussion on the resolution? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. I should mention before we move on to our next committee, Deputy Mayor Finn mentioned that the town was in good shape with regards to our wastewater due to the work that was carried out, Phase 1 of that project back in the 90s. Some people would have noticed that this week funding was announced for a similar project in the community just down the road in Gander, and their project is more like a $37 million project with their municipal requirement being around $13 million. So over 4 times what we are having to put up for this project. And I know there are other communities around the province that face even greater challenges than that when it comes to addressing these wastewater regulations. So it is important to note that that work by previous councils and staff certainly has put the town in a favorable position wastewater-wise and as a result financially. Parks, Recreation, and Special Events, Councillor Browne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Parks, Recreation, and Special Events Committee met 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, January 31st. Present, myself as chair, Councillor Bruce Moores, Councillor Tom Pinsent, Councilor Mayor Barry Manuel, sorry, Mr. Mayor, demoting you there. Councilor Amy Coady-Davis, staff members Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk, and Keith Antle, Director of Parks and Recreation. First item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, was the 2017 Atlantic Canada Event Summit. The Director of Parks and Recreation presented the committee with details on the 2017 Atlantic Canada Event Summit scheduled for March 8th to 10th in St. John's. The committee recommends the Mayor, Recreation Committee Chair, the Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, and our Director of Parks and Recreation register for this event. Centennial Field Mural. The committee reviewed the proposed mural for Centennial Field from Canvas. The committee recommends the Director of Parks and Recreation get back to the Canvas group with a few modifications and report back to the committee with an updated proof of the mural. Town-funded capital request. The Director of Parks and Recreation presented the committee with a list of Parks and Recreation capital requests for 2017. The committee discussed the priorities on the list and recommends the list be referred to Finance for final approval for all departmental capital requests. Meeting with the men's and co-ed softball leagues, Dave Canning from Grand Falls-Windsor Softball League and Mary Folks from the Grand Falls-Windsor Co-ed Softball League thanked council for their support this past summer and presented a list of recommendations for the operation of their leagues next summer. The biggest recommendation was an extension to the clubhouse, which will be considered for the capital funding in 2018. The majority of their requests will be addressed in the spring before the league starts for the summer of 2017. The committee stressed the importance of following alcohol regulations during tournaments and league play. The committee recommends the director develop a list of facility regulations imposed in the clubhouse and asks the leagues to get their players to follow these regulations. Pickleball. The new pickleball program had to be postponed on January 31st as the equipment had been delayed getting here. The program has been rescheduled for Tuesday, February 7th at 7 to 9 at the Windsor Pentecostal Gymnasium. Everyone is encouraged to attend, and all equipment will be provided. And just as an update, Mr. Mayor, the pickleball program has gone ahead. I got a chance to participate in my first game of pickleball there last week, and I think I did very well considering.
Considering what?
Considering I had a good partner. But I think we had 12 out on the second night and 15 to 16 out for the pickleball events on the first night. So I would encourage all citizens to go out and give that new sport in Grand Falls-Windsor a try. Certainly hats off to Sir O'Farrell, who brought the program to Keith, and Director of Parks and Recreation. Keith got it off the ground for him. So every Tuesday and Thursday from 7 to 9 at the gymnasium attached to the Pentecostal Church on King Street in Grand Falls-Windsor, and we encourage everybody to come out. It is a lot of fun and certainly a recreation sport. It's not a competitive sport. It is a good couple of hours of recreation. Carrying on, Mr. Mayor, with the Sports History Committee. The new Sports History Committee has been formed, and its first meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 9th. The Parks and Recreation Committee recommends they develop a terms of reference and report back to the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. And I think Mr. Mayor, Director of Parks and Recreation, again, Mr. Antle, has developed the terms of reference for this committee, and we will be meeting again next week to proceed with our plan and certainly be able to update the council and the citizens on our progress at that time as well. Programs update. The Provincial Antique Car Show has been finalized for August 26th at Centennial Field. So that, again, Mr. Mayor, what a great event coming to Grand Falls-Windsor. I think there's over about 100 cars, Keith, antique cars coming to Grand Falls-Windsor on August 26th, and that is a big event, so something for the citizens to look forward to at that time. The Summer Hockey School and Summer Figure Skating School schedules have been finalized for July 31st to September 1st, and the Winterlude promotion is now in full swing, which is scheduled for February 17th to the 20th. Also, the Midwinter Biver is sold out and will take place February 10th and 11th. I should add, Mr. Mayor, that the Midwinter Biver was held in Grand Falls-Windsor this past weekend, and it was a sold-out event. We had lots of, a very successful event, got lots of chance to talk to the participants, as did most council, and certainly they came to the conclusion this was the best winter beaver event ever. And needless to say, the extra snow we had leading up to the beaver certainly makes for a much better skidoo ride. And hats off to Dave Knoll and the Exploit Ski Trail Association for assisting with that event, as well as the Grand Falls-Windsor Fire Department and the Exploit Search and Rescue. So certainly a community event, a cooperative event, and a very successful event. So Keith Antle, our Director of Parks and Recreation, and to Gary Hennessy, our Economic Development Officer, for their work leading up to the beaver. Certainly a great event, and good job, Keith, and your staff. The committee discussed the benefits and costs of the proposed recreation software from Town Suite. The committee recommends they meet with Town Suite staff at the next committee of the whole meeting on February 7th to evaluate the benefits of the software. And the last item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, was the Perfectly Centered Culinary Festival. The committee discussed the major sponsorship package for the Perfectly Centered Culinary Festival. The committee recommends staff solicit businesses with the sponsorship package and report back to the committee at the next Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. The meeting adjourned at 8 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Browne. Looking for a seconder for those minutes. Councilor Coady-Davis. Any discussion, comment? Deputy Mayor Finn.
Just one question, Mr. Mayor. The terms of reference that's referred to the Sports History Committee, is that a terms of reference that the Recreation Committee is developing?
Yes, and it will be circulated to council very soon so that everybody would have an opportunity for
Some
input.
yeah, that's,
And I would suspect probably it'll be on the agenda at the next committee cycle to discuss.
yeah. So it'll be the parameters that the committee operates under,
Exactly.
what they do, and for what period of time, that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah,
Good.
because and what we're referring to here is a committee of citizens that would be struck, as you know, to do a number of things really, but you look at the Joe Burns Stadium now and all the memorabilia that we have around there and the trophy cases and the
Right.
pictures and so on, to be able to take it up a notch, so to speak, so that we can incorporate some new things, we can move things around, we can provide more information
More
where
interpretation,
necessary,
yeah.
more interpretation, and our other facilities in town as well. We've got a softball clubhouse on Main Street, baseball clubhouse on
Right.
Goodyear Avenue, and really allow the committee to be creative as well and propose potential ideas of what we could be doing to celebrate our heritage and, with respect to sport in Grand Falls-Windsor.
Okay. I was just wondering if we would get an opportunity to contribute to that, and we are. The other question I had was actually related to this recreation software. I know we had met with Town Suite representatives. They committed to sending us a link so we could test their software. And I hadn't seen that. Did anyone hear from them on that?
We haven't received that yet from them.
Okay. All right. So perhaps we can
Remind them
remind them maybe
Yeah.
of something they've forgotten to do.
so that we can have a look. Any other comments otherwise on the Parks and Recreation minutes? Just a couple of quick comments there. Just wanted to let people know the mural being referred to on Centennial Field would be on the new storage building, the building that was built in front of the old swimming pool, I guess. And Canvas have agreed to put a sports themed mural on that, so we're looking forward to that as a nice addition to the facility. And once again, tonight I'm struck by all the things there are to do around here in our town. And I know I hear positive feedback on that a lot in the community. I know other councilors do as well. The Antique Car Show now coming at the end of August. We've got the former Food Day Canada event, which is now the Culinary Festival, perfectly centered. And really, the community has shown great interest in these things, and it's safe to say if you got an idea, and pickleball is another example, and really if you got an idea for an event or an activity that you think would be worthwhile, please pass it along, because it seems like if it can be done and it's practical to do so, our recreation department will take it, run with it, and make it happen. And it's just really added to the quality of life as far as I'm concerned for citizens, and I'd encourage everybody, if you haven't done so, to see what schedule of events coming up, and I know Councillor Browne will go through some special events going on this weekend and other business, but there's lots to do, and lots of great events happening right here in our great town of Grand Falls-Windsor. So, if there's no other comments on those minutes, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Economic Development, Tourism, and Heritage. Councillor Bartlett.
The minutes of the Economic Development, Tourism, and Heritage meeting took place at 4:30 p.m. Monday, January the 30th, 2017. Present, Chairperson myself, Peggy Bartlett. Members, Deputy Mayor Darren Finn, Councillor Amy Coady-Davis, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Bruce Moores, Councillor Tom Pinsent, Councillor Mike Browne, staff Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk, Gary Hennessy, Economic Development Officer, Stan Singh, Business Development Officer. Also attending the meeting were Shannon Pinsent and Matt Malloy from Adventure Central. The Adventure Central presentation, Shannon and Matt of Adventure Central gave the committee a presentation on the types of initiatives that Adventure Central carries out. And I have to say it was a very informative hour and a half. We invited them for 30 minutes, but they ran slightly over, but it was good to see how our partners, both centrally and provincially, support not only the town, but how we can support them in tourism and potential tourism activities in a go forward. Trade show booth backdrop. The Economic Development Officer presented 2 examples that might be used for the town's trade show booth for upcoming trade shows in Mount Pearl and Halifax. The committee made several recommendations, and the Economic Development Officer will make changes and circulate this to Council for final approval on the backdrop that we will use. The town brand purchases for 2017. The Economic Development Officer presented several submissions as part of the RFP process for the purchase of town brand items for 2017. The committee reviewed the submissions and recommended that the tenders be awarded as per the tendering contracts. Community radio. Councillor Pinsent led the discussion on this initiative. He has had discussions with several private interested citizens and will meet with them again next week to help move this forward. And there has been sort of an undercurrent of interest in having a community radio for this region, not just for the town, for the region, and to promote it. Phone app marketing options. The Economic Development Officer presented several initiatives that we are using to market the new town phone app, including an insertion notice in the recently mailed out tax bills, as well as a proposal to develop a survey contest. The committee recommended that we look at a survey process as well as develop the Facebook contest to increase the number of users of our phone app. The app can be downloaded free from the App Store or on an iPhone, iPad, or an Android product. And again, I recommend more and more people to get this. A lot of times people will say, I didn't know when there was a water outage, or I didn't know if there was going to be a power outage, or whatever is happening around town. If it's important, more than likely the information will be on this app. So I strongly urge people to get the app. It's free. It's easily downloaded. Even I can do it, so that says a lot. So go for it, guys. The Midwinter Biver update. The Economic Development Officer presented a spreadsheet with the ticket sales for each event for the Midwinter Biver 2017. All events are now sold out, and final plans are being worked on in preparation for the February 10th and 11th event. The committee suggested that we promote the 2017 Exploits Valley Salmon Festival at the Biver events as well, which we did. And as Councillor Browne had commented, this had gone ahead this past weekend, and I may say it was an outstanding success. Anybody who attended, as the old saying goes, if you didn't have a good time, it was your fault. So hats off to the team, to the entire team actually, from Parks and Rec and Gary with Economic Development for carrying out such an awesome job. The next steps for the Heritage Subcommittee. The committee reviewed the newly adopted heritage regulations and discussed the makeup of the soon-to-be-formed Heritage Committee. The Council will ask the public to submit their names to gauge interest and will then select 2 representatives from the submission. We look forward to this because there's, again, been much interest shown from the Heritage Society especially, and having this committee on the go. There's a lot of groups out there and a lot of individuals who have expressed interest. I know the Aboriginal group especially, they too are interested, seeing this is a big part of their culture. So we look forward to having this group come together and get going. Oh, sorry, I missed the biofuel. Biofuel project update. The mayor gave a brief report on the status of the biofuel project. Council will continue to communicate with the parties involved in this project. And the mayor also did an interview, I think, on the radio, if not on the TV. Mayor Manuel, I know you did a radio interview on this.
I'm trying to think now.
You
Yeah,
did some,
on
yeah.
on Rogers, I believe, was an interview
Right.
with the other mayors that we discussed
Right.
the project.
And again, a lot of interest in this, because this is not just for our town, it's for the region, it's for jobs, and I guess as we all know, jobs. Jobs are really important to bring jobs, to bring people, to bring families, and to boost the economy. Other business, magnets for summer events, and this really should probably fall under our 2017 10 grand purchases. Councillor Pinsent suggested that the town create a refrigerator magnet that would include information on summer tourism events. The Economic Development Officer will follow up to get some cost and some quotes on this initiative. Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business Executive Director requested a meeting with Council this week, and the committee suggested Thursday, February 2nd, from 1 to 2 p.m. would be an appropriate day and a time to meet, and this Council did have the meeting, and it was a very great time for dialogue between the two groups, and we look forward to future meetings with him. Town, Newfoundland and Labrador Housing, the Community Coalition meeting. The Mayor, the Town Clerk, Manager, and Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation met with representatives from the Newfoundland and Labrador Housing and Community Coalition to discuss opportunities to partner on several programs. And I will say, even though this may not be in our minutes every 3 weeks or every month, but the town is very much engaged in any partnerships with both the community coalitions, the women's centers, any of these groups that are out there that are for the betterment of our people, be it homeless, be it housing, be it for whatever concerns. Our town is very much engaged, and although it doesn't come in the minutes to reflect it, let me assure you, just reaching out to any of the councillors here or to the mayor himself, or really to any of the groups that are involved, they will know that the relationship and the partnership is great. The Civic Awards. The committee decided that Wednesday, May 10th would be the date for the 2017 Civic Awards. They will be held at the Gordon Pinsent Centre for the Arts, and the award criteria will roll out in the next week or so. Interested parties can complete and submit nominations from the town website or by mail. The meeting adjourned at 8:40 p.m. I move the recommendations and the report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Bartlett. For a seconder on those minutes. Councillor Browne, any discussion on the Economic Development, Tourism and Heritage minutes? Councillor Pinsent?
More than anything, I think the date, January 30th, unless I'm losing my
Date
mind.
of the meeting itself?
Yeah, it was last week, wasn't it? It wasn't January 30th.
It's recorded
That's
as
for
January
economic
the
development.
30th. We can
think it
double
was
check
last
to
week.
make sure that if it's incorrect, we can have it updated to.
Yeah, just as housekeeping more than anything.
Sure,
The
yeah.
rest of the content was fine. I was just
Yeah.
curious. I thought I might be losing my mind. Well, I am, but you know, that's possible. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Finn.
It was January 30th, so that confirms that you are losing your mind. Now, the fact is, Councillor Pinsent, I think time flies by so quickly that 2 weeks doesn't seem like much. So, you know, the week before last does seem like last week to me, too. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. Any other discussion on the minutes? I'd just like to mention a couple of quick things here. The biofuels is referenced again in the minutes. Won't go into a full, I guess, explanation of where things were and where we are, but I will say that we're pleased to report that the memorandum of understanding with regards to the timber rights, which was a hot topic in the media and in this chamber in our meetings for a month or two, has been offered and is our understanding that's been signed between the New Green Technologies Company and the government. the next step now is for New Green to work with the government in terms of sustainability, the business viability, and to look at all those different factors that need to be considered. So we're hopeful that we will continue to hear positive news. As Councillor Bartlett said, jobs are crucially important, and this is something, as we know, that could create quite a few jobs and spark quite a bit of activity in our region. So right now, the hurdle, as we saw it at the time, was the MOU and the timber allocation, the 285,000 cubic meters that's required for the business plan to be pushed forward, and that has happened. So we'll eagerly await, like everybody else, the next bit of news on that, and we'll certainly pass it along if we do get it. The other thing,
Did you
no,
get
there
any
has not.
indication?
In our meeting with Minister Crocker, he acknowledged that the timber allocation would be offered to the company, and then that forestry's job was done, and then it would be up to BTCRD to sit down then with New Green and their representatives to work through their business plan and to determine, the details and work out the rest of the details, and I guess ask the questions and be given the answers that would be comfortable with them moving forward. I mean, them, the government. We're given every indication by the company that they're confident in this business's viability. So, there has been no timeline, but certainly we will be following up with our contacts, both in government and the company, to find out where they are in this process, if need be. But of course, we only met with the minister, I think, a few weeks ago,
Right.
and we'll wait and give government time to do their due diligence. Again, it's important to note, though, that the company is looking for zero financial investment from the government, which is an important factor in all this, you would think, in terms of progressing it quickly. So that's where that is too. I also want to mention the Civic Awards that's referenced in the minutes. Mark your calendars. May the 10th will be our first annual Grand Falls-Windsor Civic Awards, and we'll have about a dozen awards that are going to be given out on that night. It'll be held at the Gordon Pinsent Center for the Arts. Nominations will be accepted beginning in about a week or so. We're still just fine-tuning the links and that on our site, and people will be able to go in on our website, click on a link. All the awards will be listed in hyperlink form. You can click on the link. It'll tell you the criteria of the award, and then you can click on a link to say nominate now, and you could do it right online, and we would then accept the nomination, and the deadline would be posted at that time. I would suspect the nominations will be accepted right up until sometime in early to mid-April, and would give us time then to, with the judging committee, I guess, to narrow down the nominees, to reach out to them and invite them to the ceremony that night. We'll have some entertainment there as well, and some finger foods, and it's going to be a great night. It's our first annual. We'll do our promotional piece as well and try to get the word out there. There will also be tickets available to the general public. I think they're going to be $10 each, so sort of a nominal fee for a nice event and an evening out. And we'd encourage people to look for that and to submit nominations. We got a lot of great things going on in this town. There's a lot of great people behind the good things, and a lot of deserving nominees out there, I know for sure, in all the categories, and I won't try to list them now, but there will be about a dozen or so, and we felt it important to bring all our awards together and offer some that may not have been, and council wanted to use this as an opportunity to build community pride and to recognize those deserving citizens out there. So we very much look forward to our first annual Civic Awards on May the 10th. Any other discussion on the economic development, tourism, and heritage minutes? Hearing none, we already have a mover and a seconder, so all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Committee of the Whole, Deputy Mayor Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Committee of the Whole met 7 p.m. February 7th. Present were yourself, Mayor Barry Manuel, Myself as chair, Councilors Peggy Bartlett, Councilor Mike Browne, Councilor Amy Coady-Davis, Councilor Bruce Moores, Councilor Tom Pinsent. Among the staff present, Jeff Saunders, Town Manager, Nelson Chapman, Director of Engineering Works, Keith Antle, Director of Parks and Recreation, Barry Griffin, Director of Finance, Fire Chief Vince McKenzie, Chief Constable Russ Tebow, and Savannah Skinner. Also attending the meeting were Sarah Hobbs and Rebecca Torville of Town Suite Municipal Software. Recreation event booking software. Representatives from Town Suite gave a presentation on recreation software available to administer requirements for all events and facilities. This would include online ticket purchases, event registration, booking facilities, etc. Mrs. Hobbs and Mrs. Torville were excused at 5:45 p.m. The committee recommends the proposal be discussed at a future meeting. Municipal enforcement presentation. Chief Constable Tebow gave a report on the department activities. There was a significant increase in the number of tickets issued in 2016 compared to 2011. Animal control complaints are down. There was discussion on collection of fines and tracking of tickets issued. Staff will follow up on the system in place with the Department of Justice. Cameras were installed at the Saturday drop-off, and 14 charges have been laid. This is working very well, and indiscriminate dumping has decreased. Speed notification signs are working well. There is a lot of data that can be downloaded from these units. We have 2 new signs in stock, and we will be converting that will be converted to portable units that can be located in different locations for short periods of time. Staff are working on proposals for security cameras at municipal facilities. This will be presented to the committee as part of the capital program. Chief Constable Russ Tebow stated the biggest challenges for his staff in meeting the expectations of the public is very difficult to cover all the areas with the present staffing levels. Councilor Bartlett asked both Chief Constable Tebow and Fire Chief McKenzie for their opinion on the traffic flow situation on Queen Street, Browne Road during events at the Legion. They both have concerns with access if there was a fire or other emergency in the area. Using the lower parking lot and making the street one-way would be an improvement. The issue is now being addressed by engineering staff. The committee thanked Chief Constable Tebow and for his department's contribution. He was excused at 7 p.m. Fire and Emergency Department report. Fire Chief Vince McKenzie reported on the department's activities for 2016. Membership is down by several members, so recruiting will commence in March and expected to be at full membership by early April. There were 122 emergency calls in 2016 and 3,592 hours of training for the members. Critical incident stress management training is scheduled from March 4th to the 8th. This is very important, and the chief hopes to reestablish a program and team. Chief McKenzie is continuing to work on the Emergency Operations Center upgrades. The chief is hoping to coordinate emergency management training in Grand Falls-Windsor for new staff and plan for an exercise this summer or fall. Chief McKenzie has also been researching on a mass notification system for town communications. More information will be provided when available. There was discussion on capital requests, and this will be addressed under the capital program. The committee thanked Chief McKenzie for his contributions of his department, and he was excused at 7:45 p.m. Waste management. The committee briefly discussed the waste management issues. The response to the latest correspondence from Central Newfoundland Waste Management will be completed and mailed soon. A meeting was held at the regional facility on February 2nd with the Central Newfoundland Waste Management Executive, several municipalities, Chamber of Commerce, commercial haulers, and the Minister of Municipal Affairs. The minister stated a review of the provincial waste strategy will be completed this year. The 150 celebration projects, that's the Canada 150. Staff are identifying projects and the maximum funding available through the program for further discussion. Deadline for submitting applications is February 28, 2017. Search and Rescue Command Center. The committee discussed correspondence from the Exploits Ground Search and Rescue on the funding shortfall for their command center. The committee recommends staff meet with Mr. Miller to review possible options. Social media policy. The committee discussed the need for a social media policy for council and staff and recommends this be reviewed by the Finance and Administration for discussion at a future meeting. The meeting adjourned at 10 p.m. Mr. Mayor, I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Finn, seconded by Councilor Morse. Any discussion on the committee of the whole minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Move along. Any notices of motion? No notice of motion. Other business, and tonight it's Councilor Browne's turn to begin.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in new business this evening, I'd like to congratulate the Grand Falls-Windsor Minor Hockey female hockey tournament for their female hockey tournament this past weekend. There were 3 divisions of girls playing female hockey at the Joe Byrne and Windsor Stadiums all weekend. The under 12 won a gold medal in their category. The under 15 won a bronze, and the under 20 female teams won the silver medal. So I got a chance to take in some of the minor hockey over the weekend, Mr. Mayor, and I must say, female hockey in Grand Falls-Windsor is alive and well. And hats off to Grand Falls-Windsor Minor Hockey for a very successful event. I'd just like to review, this weekend, of course, Mr. Mayor, is the 25th anniversary of the Grand Falls-Windsor Winterlude Festival. And as a big weekend coming up here in Grand Falls-Windsor, I just want to review some of the events that are taking place over the weekend, starting on this Friday coming with the Lumberjack Special. Everybody head up to the Memorial United Church. The men's choir will be preparing their Lumberjack Special, which consists of baked beans, bologna, toutons, and molasses bun for $8 a plate. How can you go wrong, Mr. Mayor?
Sounds good to me.
Later that afternoon on Friday, February 17th. Thank you. The Exploits Valley Cross Country Ski Club have an event on from 2 to 4 and encourage everybody to drop down to do some skiing or snowshoeing on their trails down there. Friday night, there's a wine tasting and painting class at the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium. Certainly a popular event, which I suspect is sold out, is it, Keith? Unfortunately for the people, that event sold out quickly. And I'll just reiterate Councillor Bartlett's earlier mention of to ensure you don't miss these events, or ensure that you are well aware that they're on. Download our town app. As Councillor Bartlett says, it is free and not a difficult thing to do. 7 to 10 on Friday night, Mr. Mayor, is the Moonlight Ski Snowshoe at the Exploits Valley Cross Country Ski Club. So encourage all residents to take in that event. And also Friday evening at our bowling alleys, the annual Eileen M. Dormady Memorial Invitational Bowling Tournament. That particular bowling tournament has been a staple at the festival for, I think, the full 25 years. So should be another great event to that evening. That's certainly sponsored by the Exploits Disability Association. Then Saturday, Mr. Mayor, another full slate of events, including the Winterlude Community Family Breakfast. There's a moose bibber sale on at the Exploits Oddfellows Lodge on Union Street. Their Winterlude Family Fun Days at the Corridor Brook Pond. Another family ski snowshoe event at the Exploits Valley Cross Country Ski Club. And there's an evening sleigh ride from 6 to 8 on Saturday at Centennial Field, and come out for a sleigh ride under the stars. Admission is free, and refreshments will be served. And don't forget to dress warm. The Sunday events for Winterlude 2017 include the Teddy bears on parade at Main Street Corridor Book Building, and that all starts at 11 a.m. Sunday morning. At 1, there's dog sledding at Centennial Field. Admission is free, and children must be accompanied by an adult. There's a scavenger hunt at the Exploits Valley Cross Country Ski Club. There's a social ski, again sponsored by our Exploits Valley Cross Country Ski Club, that afternoon. There's a community sliding party at the Church Road Park, something the whole family can participate in. And you can slide under the stars and warm up afterwards with hot chocolate and Tim Mints, sponsored by the Exploits Valley Crime Stoppers Committee. And Mr. Mayor, the evening wraps up, the event wraps up on Monday, the Winterlude event wraps up on Monday. There's a senior snowshoe from 2 to 4 Monday afternoon. There's a Winterlude reading corner at the Harmsworth Public Library from 3 to 4:30 on Monday. The Tots Winterlude Bounce Day at the Windsor Pentecostal Church is happening on Monday, and the Kids Winterlude for ages 6 plus. There's 2 Winterlude Bounce Days for kids. One is for the 2 to 5 category, ages 2 to 5, and the other is from 6:30 to 7 for the ages 6 and up. And from 7 to 9 on Monday night, there's a couples cooking class, and anybody who wants to participate in that should check our town website, and you can register for that event that way. So, Mr. Mayor, a full slew of events for their Winterlude 2017. Encourage everybody to take part. There's something there for everybody, and that'll be it for me this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Browne. And I guess just to double plug one of your events, you could tell that there's a lot on the go, as we said, so we encourage everybody to get out, but something that's near and dear to my heart, of course, is the Family Day at Corduroy Pond, which goes on Saturday. And I know we've had a lot of snow last night and some work to do to get the trails cleared and the sledding hill cleared and the rink cleared and the field cleared, but we will get there by Saturday. And for those that may have not have taken in this event before, I'd encourage you to get out. The weather, by the way, for the weekend is fantastic. Forecast, we're looking at, I think, -2, -3 degrees for Saturday and Sunday. Sunny for the most part on both days. So get out and enjoy. And I know at the Family Day in Corduroy Pond from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., there's free chili, free soup, free hot chocolate, free drinks, prize giveaways, loot bags, weenie roast, bonfires, all kinds of lots of good things to do. And usually we'll get hundreds of people in on that day, and we'd like to see hundreds more, especially people who may have not gotten in there before. And all the other town events on that weekend, we'd encourage participation from our residents because there's a lot to do. Deputy Mayor Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll certainly be taking in Family Day, as I've done for many years, actually, with my daughters. And as Councillor Browne went through the schedule, my daughter's already taken me through it, and she got circled apparently what I'm attending. And that's all good. So, and I'm looking forward to the activities, and obviously the staff must have taken some effort to reach out to the schools, because that's how that information came back in my house. So it does get around when the proactive approach goes on. So I just want to say that. The only thing I wanted to mention tonight, Mr. Mayor, was with respect to civic numbering, because our fire chief had raised the issue with us about that not all areas of town have civic numbers on it, and so it's an issue that council will discuss and has information shared with us, but we will continue to deal with that in committee. But the regulations are quite clear for our municipality, and I would say common for most municipalities across Canada, that you're required to have a civic number on your house that's visible from the street. And it's very important that you have it more than getting your mail delivered, in case you want to get the fire truck to attend, or the police or an ambulance to attend your address. If they can't find your house, then time is lost in that effort to do that. So there are some areas of town that are that don't have that are not compliant with civic numbering. So and the regulation already exists. So I can only surmise, following our next committee discussions, that the staff will pay some attention to enforcing that. But rather than enforcing it and communicating with the homeowners that don't carry civic address, people should be proactive and deal with that issue themselves. It's very important for our town, and it's important for themselves. So I just wanted to communicate that tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Finn. Councillor Coady-Davis.
Deputy Mayor, I also was going to mention the civic addressing, so I'm glad you brought that up. And just an add-on to that, I would suggest residents to drive up your street when it's dark, and if you can't see the number on your own house, well then you should probably get a bigger number or have your front porch light on, something that will illuminate, and homes that are set back a fair distance. You should probably look at having, I know some people get very decorative with planter posts and things like that, and put your house number at the end of your driveway or something so they are visible. So, and like Deputy Mayor said, we're going to be looking at getting pretty strict on that and then starting to enforce that with our residents. So I would encourage residents to please take the initiative and make sure your homes are clearly numbered in case of emergency. A few other items for me. I wanted to mention that the International Women's Day dinner is going to be held on March the 9th at the Royal Canadian Legion here in Grand Falls-Windsor. The cost of a ticket is $20, and you can contact the Status of Women Central at 489-8919. That dinner sells out really quickly. If it's not sold out already, I would suggest you do make the phone call over the next day or so if you do plan to attend. That's always a lovely evening. The Central Housing Homelessness Network, along with the Salvation Army, is also having their pancake breakfast on February the 28th. It is eat-in or takeout. The cost is $6 for the breakfast, and it's pancakes, beans, sausage, and juice. So you can contact them at 489-25062 to place your order if you do want delivery. Because they will deliver, I think, up to, if you have 10 or more orders, they will deliver either to your workplace or your home or wherever. What else did I have? Oh, I want to say a big thank you to Woodland Primary, the grade 3s. They did invite me in to do some reading with the grade 3s for Literacy Day, which wasn't actually Literacy Day, but there was a couple of snow days and the event kept getting pushed off and pushed off. So I was happy to be able to go in and do that and got to read a couple of my favorite books to the kids. And they certainly seem to enjoy them as well. So that's always nice to be able to participate in events with the children like that. And I did have the privilege and a lot of fun last night attending the Canvas Sweet Art and Chocolate for Valentine's Day in the hospitality room of the Joe Byrne Stadium. And we did another lovely painting, and art is subjective, so yes, it was lovely, lovely painting. But Joanne Mack and, oh gosh, her name just went right out of my head, Ms. Power, she's the art teacher at EVH. Susan Power? Susan Power. And they were very lovely and accommodating and complimentary to everybody there last night, who tried to recreate a beautiful painting that Mrs. Power had created. And there was like 15 different versions of that painting, but all very, very lovely. So that was a lot of fun, and Councillor Browne mentioned a couple of more events coming up, the Wine and Art, which is always a fun one. And they sell out so quickly, so make sure you keep your eyes open and your ears open when those events get announced again, to make sure you do get in on those. And last thing for me, I just want to say thank you to our residents for their patience over the last couple of days and all winter, for that matter, with regards to snow clearing and the amount of snow and the different types of weather that we've had. Snow, and then it gets warm and melts and freezes, and it's just been a mess all winter long. I want to say thanks to our staff for doing such great work in maintaining the sidewalks, having them cleared, the roadways, the widening, getting out with the blowers, and just, trying to stay ahead of it. And to our residents again, thank you for your patience, and certainly appreciate it. And God willing, winter will be over soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Coady-Davis. Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to bring anything up, but I got to rise and congratulate the Rec Department and Economic Development Committee for the work that they've done the weekend with the winter beaver. I'm sure the work that was done was appreciated by all, and I attended most of the events, and everything was positive, and the words that we're getting is they'll definitely be back next year, so it was a great event, and Mr. Director, please pass my thanks, and thanks on behalf of the residents of Grand Falls-Windsor for the work they put into this, and it was a fantastic success. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Bartlett.
I will echo what Councillor Moore had said. The beaver was exceptional, and also when you look at the events that are ongoing for this weekend, so I'm not sure if you guys get time off for your weekends that you work or what, but I'm not even going to mention it right now, but I mean, you know, these guys are small staff, but they are, what is it they say, powerful and mighty, because you guys are doing, you know, an awesome job, and you're always there, and it seems like Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, just when the snow falls too, you guys are there as well, so and also, hats off to the staff over there, and please pass it along. I also want to take my hat off to the mayor for his comments on our Facebook, on the town site, regarding the inclusiveness of our community and how we wish to be perceived and how we want our residents to embrace each other in light of the Quebec shooting. It was a very tragic time for the country, and I guess it comes down to little towns like ours. And I mean, not too long ago that Councillor Moore was there, and we were welcoming our Syrian family, and we're, you know, our neighboring communities are welcoming. I heard Lewisport today is waiting for its family from Lebanon, and really this is the way we have to go. We have to embrace inclusiveness, fellowship, other cultures and races and religions, because the bad in the world just can't win. I mean, you know, and we didn't grow up that way, and we weren't trained that way, and we just have to. So hats off to your comments, and sometimes you don't want to blow it out of proportion or whatever, but just being there and just letting them know how we feel and how other communities feel. Also, hats off to the community for what it did in its Milltown with the fire, and the residents and everybody just responded really quickly, getting school supplies, and I hear now they have an abundance of school supplies supplied by the public and by businesses, probably more than what the government had supplied in the past, but no pun on words there, but we're very, I know, because they're always, you know, short of copying paper and different things, but really, really proud of the community and the joint effort that it did there. International Women's Day for sure. Thank you, Councillor Coady-Davis, for doing that. And I think I would be remiss tonight if I didn't mention snow clearing. It's probably one of those little rants that you could go on with, but I spent most of the weekend, besides family events and a little bit of the beaver and that, I've taken quite a few calls from residents about snow clearings, very few positive, but I have to remind residents that, you know, I too get out there and shovel snow, and snow doesn't sort of select where it falls, so it's very, very challenging. And to say the least, I did go through Facebook. I should say this first. I did go through Facebook, and like other councillors, we saw the plow that lifts up the arm for all the driveways, but I think if we were going to invest in a couple plows like that, your roads wouldn't be plowed for at least a week, because that video on Facebook was done, I think, in a rural area. Every time you go along by a driveway, it puts an arm down so the snow doesn't go in your driveway. It doesn't really work in the cities, and I think there's a lot of towns and a lot of municipalities on Facebook that have said that concept doesn't work, and I'm not going to defend that right now, but I will tell you that this is one town. It's Grand Falls-Windsor. The staff are not trying to go against the residents of the Windsor area or the downtown area or the north or south area. We're all in this together, and when the snow falls, it falls. So we have to ask for patience, we have to ask for common sense, we have to ask for a little bit of understanding. Because I don't think there's one worker out there who's trying to say, well, I'm not going to do this street, or I'm going to do this street first. Neither one of us. If anything, maybe they can do my street last, just so that somebody doesn't say, well, a councillor lives on that street. Because that's the very last thing in the world I would want somebody to say. And I don't think any of the town staff want to say that. But some of the town staff and the town employees have taken some pretty nasty comments. And it's not fair, it's not called for. So as you get out there, and maybe, you know what, if you have a little time on your hands, maybe you can help your neighbors. Because there's a lot of neighbors out there who can't shovel for health reasons. They can't shovel. They can't afford to get somebody else to do the shoveling for them. So if you got a shovel, or if you got an extra plow, or you see your neighbor being shoveled in and can't get shoveled out, here's the Christian spirit. Here's the community spirit. Jump in maybe and help somebody. But if there's anything that I can do for you, or I'm sure any of the councillors here, we've even asked the Public Works Department that maybe there's a map or a schematic or something, or a pattern or a template, that maybe if it's too late and no snow falls for the rest of the year, maybe we could have it online for the next season. But it would be a good idea, because I know I've spoken to the mayor and I've spoken to Mr. Saunders, and I don't mean to belay this subject,
fine.
and I've spoken to Mr. Chapman, about what areas they do first, and they do the main streets first, and then they do the secondary roads, and so maybe if we had that somewhere online, somebody could just look and say, oh, you know what, 2nd Avenue and Main Street West got to be done before the little streets got to be done. Or, maybe Goodyear's got to be done before Muir gets done. So at least it's just some kind of, and it doesn't have to be individual, it can be just maybe in a grouping, but it may give some people some reference of where to go for and what to look for, right?
Yep.
But we're all here. It's a difficult time. I think if I'm going to lose votes, I'm going to lose votes on this one. But you know what? I'm here to do good, and we can only do, all of us collectively, what we can do. So I ask for your patience, probably, because I don't think the snow is going to be gone for another month or so. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we're actually in the, what they call the dead of winter now, I guess.
Yep, we are.
This February time, typically we get it, and we all feel the same way as what you do, and we ask of staff a lot of questions, and believe me, there is a strategy in place. This is not like haphazardly done. There are routes, there are priorities. As you mentioned, you got your main thoroughfares and that had to be done. You've got to consider school zones and that sort of thing. There are streets that unfortunately are last on the priority list, like my street, for example. I live on a low priority street because it's a residential street. It's not a main thoroughfare, so I'm not one of the first ones to get done, and there's lots of times I may be waiting after a heavy snowfall until late the next day for it to be done. But hey, we live in this place we call Newfoundland and Labrador. It's such a beautiful place, especially when it comes to nature. But one of the not so beautiful things, I guess, at times is the snow, especially when you're dealing with 4 or 5 feet of it in your driveway and there's chunks of ice and everything that the plow pushed up. But these guys work hard, and just think about sometimes being in that cockpit of the loader and going around at 4 o'clock in the morning and trying to get as much as you can do done and making sure that all the streets are done. But boy, I tell you, overall, I'm very, I don't mind saying at all that our staff do a really good job on snow clearing here in town. Sometimes the amount of snow we get and and in short periods of time make it that much more challenging to clear up. And we do get to our sidewalks, which is something that, a lot of other communities don't even attempt to do. And I do think as well that by and large our citizens recognize it, and they get it, and they appreciate it. And I love your comment about get out and help your neighbor. There are a lot of people in town that struggle this time of year to get out and get their pathways shoveled and that. So, if you want to do a good deed, by all means, go and do it. And we're here, we will answer questions, we will offer explanations, we will share the routes and the strategies with you if you're so inclined to want to know. There's no secrets here, but ultimately
Do you think
someone
that
has to be
we-
first and someone has to be last, and we have discussed taking the maps that are color-coded. I've seen them myself, and we can put those online, and people can go on and see what the priority is, and maybe add some notes there as an explanation. Not a problem. I'm sure we could do that, and everybody would be in agreement, and if folks want to go on there and have a look and add suggestions, no one's perfect either, you know. By all means, we're open to that, so thanks for bringing it up.
And just to add, if there is an area missed or something that they feel free, call in, because I'm sure the staff
It
will.
happens.
It happens, and it's been, it's human error. It will continue to happen. In one community, I'm not sure if it's Mount Pearl or CBS or whatever, there were some church groups that got together, and they took a list of people who had disabilities or who were, who couldn't physically get out. And they are trying to do a community group thing where there's a guy, a couple of people who have plows that, won't do maybe the whole drive, will get enough so that the person will get out of the house, or if they have a vehicle, they can get the vehicle out, right? So maybe we should look at that for...
Well, that topic has actually come up before, since I've been on council, but not since your time.
Yeah.
And it was a project that takes place, I know, in Calgary and in other cities called Snow Angels. And, there's a nonprofit group, and you're saying that there's a community group that may take this upon themselves in Mount Pearl. But basically, Snow Angels is, and if you want to Google it, you would easily find the Calgary version, and other cities do the same thing. But basically looking for someone who would agree to do a neighbor's driveway, or someone down the street. Those people, as you mentioned, that have a more difficult time, or because of their circumstances, maybe they're widowed, maybe they have some sort of disability, whatever the case may be, but the people who are able and willing to do it would take on a friend and be the snow angel for that person. So it's something we can look at again. It would be nice to have a group out there in town who would champion that for sure, but it would go over well here because we do have a lot of seniors. We do have a lot of areas in town where people do have difficulty clearing their snow, and we do have a lot of snow, right, as evident with just last night. So by all means, we could entertain the suggestion again and maybe try to put the feelers out there to see how we can make it happen. Okay, Councillor Pinsent, waiting anxiously.
Yeah, I would bet you are.
No, you are. Not me.
Just a couple things today, Mr. Mayor. Civic numbers, we've talked about it, and just to clear it for some residents that we're not doing this because it's a regulation, we're trying to force it down your throat, is actually a safety issue. And there was also where this came to fruition and came to us is that in parts of town, the ambulance had trouble finding the place because there wasn't numbered properly, and probably took them a few more minutes to get to it, and a few more minutes in an emergency could mean somebody's life. So that's why the civic numbers, I think, are that much more important. It's not something we're just trying to say, it's a regulation, let's enforce it. There's a reason, a rhyme and reason for this one. So just like to add that. I'd like to commend, there was a vigil held at Gorge Park, and the mayor spoke at it. It was minus 15 or something, minus 17. It was cold, wasn't it? But it was heartwarming, pardon the pun, to be there to see the people come out, even though it was that cold, people acknowledging, the tragedy that happened, the senseless tragedy and discrimination that happened, and the people. I was proud of the town that a number of people came out and reached out to people to say, we're not discriminatory, and generally Newfoundlanders are not. It's one thing. That's one of the common things we have, which is a great thing of being a Newfoundlander. Midwinter Biver, success it was. Highlight for me was watching our rec director dancing. You will see Jed Clampett dancing. I'm telling you, that was Keith. He was tearing up the dance floor, and the only thing Granny was behind him. I don't know who she was, but she was chasing behind him. I did, but enough for that. That's a highlight of the weekend for me. But anyway, all seriousness, hats off again to the Biver, people that worked on the Biver. And it's once again, I think, goes back to something what I think since I've been on council, and council, I think the councils before us, is make the town a better place to live. If we make it a better place to live, it's a better place to visit. If it's a better place to visit, it's a better place to relocate maybe. So I think it goes hand in hand. And all these things, we talk about pickleball, which a resident got involved. It's not just recreation department, but I think the community is becoming involved, something I'm seeing, and Winter Loot coming this weekend and all the efforts. And it's just making it a better place to live, which is, like I said, it also serves us as an economic driver as well. So hats off to you, and look forward to your I should have got it on camera, but anyway, well done. Litter. You've heard me sitting here and talking about litter, and it's amazing, even though it's winter, and I know I'm going to be shocked when the snow does go, the amount of coffee cups and things like that that are just kicking around the town that I'm seeing. I don't know what to say. It's one of the things. We try to make the town a better place to live. We're trying to promote tourism and everything else, and people just throw the garbage everywhere. It just appalls me, to be honest. And I wish people just stop. See somebody doing it, tell them to stop. There's no need of it. There's something that's absolutely no need of it. The litter bins were put back at the postal offices, outlets, and a tremendous difference that I've seen in the three that I've gone around to. So hats off to Public Works for doing that. There was a meeting at a radio station this last week. I was trying to remember now, the time is gone. There was a meeting, and there is a committee now in place, and we're going to go out and look for, there's a name of the station. The station's going to be called Valley Radio. It's going to encompass the entire central Newfoundland region. I'm not going to let any more details on that. We are going to be looking for volunteers. The idea is to make it going to be a volunteer station focused on community of central Newfoundland, not just Grand Falls-Windsor. On that, and of course, eventually, hopefully, it will turn into a nonprofit station, which, of course, there'll be paid positions, but the money will go back into the station. So I'm pleased to say that that is getting up and getting running. Commend the mayor. I think we said this, biofuels, a couple people about biofuels, and what that's going to do to the central Newfoundland regional economy. People have been saying, how come we can't get something in forestry? It's good finally to see something coming in forestry, and this has been a long time coming. As a council, and all the councils in the area, was good to see a joint council effort, not only just down Grand Falls-Windsor, which the mayor was our representative and did it very, very well, by the way, but also Bartlett and Bishop Falls and Buckins and everything else. So I think we're going to see something in forestry. Fingers crossed. Let's hope the Department of Business acknowledges their business plan. One thing I heard today on the radio, and hopefully we can investigate this a little bit more, Crime Stoppers are having a nomination for an enforcement officer, whether it be RCMP, RNC, or municipal enforcement officers, ours. And I think we should nominate our own Chief Constable Tebow. Those of you who have worked as counselors now and people have been close have noticed the efforts that he's made. And he's truly risen above the call of duty. And I think that, we should look at, and I only heard this today on the radio, so I'm not sure exactly what the details, but as soon as I heard it, his name came to my mind right off the bat. And so I think we should look into having him recognized and at least nominate him for this award, Enforcement Officer of the Year. And that's all I have today, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Pinsent. Yeah, I would concur certainly with Chief Thibault and all our municipal enforcement group who do a great job. It's not easy work, obviously, as everybody knows. There's a lot of regulations to enforce. There's a lot of work that they have to do when there's events going on. There's funerals and lots of things that people really don't recognize the amount of time that it takes to do. And I know Chief Thibault does an excellent job of organizing his troops, and they do make a conscious effort of being present in all areas of town and as much as they possibly can. And as the Deputy Mayor indicated in his minutes, the amount of tickets have gone up a fair bit over the years, which is not a bad thing. It's something that people were calling for, in fact, especially when it comes to the traffic violations, the speeding, and the dangerous driving and that. And no one likes getting a ticket. I know it's I never met anybody who did, anyways. And so it's important to recognize that they do good work, and they are busy, really busy, and they got a lot on their plate, but we got a group doing a great job. And it's good to hear as well that the community radio station is progressing. Of course, some talk sparked recently about why not us, and there are other areas who have embarked upon a community radio station with some success. And it's definitely needed here, and it would be a great thing. I think our citizens and our business community right through the region would support it. So thanks for putting your efforts into it, and I know you'll continue to do so, and look forward to good news there. I wasn't at the Biver this weekend. I know Councillor Browne mentioned the traction female success this weekend with the medals and that. Well, I was in Pasadena for a grade 5 boys basketball tournament, and it was the Sprucewood Timberwolves walked away with the championship over there, and went undefeated. And of course my young fellow was playing on the team, and we had about 14 kids, I think. But I just wanted to point out, and I know I've recognized Brian Cook here before as well, and Brian is one of many, I guess, champions within our community, but he has delivered a Steve Nash basketball program in our town for young basketball players, young athletes, for the last 6 or 7 years, I'm guessing. I might be overestimating, but somewhere around there. And boy, oh boy, I tell you, you could see how it paid off. He definitely deserves credit for the skill development of these kids. He gets their respect. He's got the right approach to the game. He's got the right attitude. And their first tournament, and they walked away with the victory, and it's because, I believe, mainly because of Brian's dedication to that program. And I'm sure that you'll see more and more good things to come with basketball in Grand Falls-Windsor. And all sports. You mentioned traction. I think there was also a Pee-wee hockey team who won a gold medal in Gander over the weekend, and probably other teams. And I apologize if there's other successful teams this past weekend that we haven't recognized, but it's good to know that our youth sports programs are in good hands with the people behind the scenes who push and are very dedicated. Volunteers, coaches, and otherwise, so it was good to see. I'll end just by one last time plugging our town app. I know Councillor Bartlett has been heavy promoting our app, and not only is it good for getting those notifications and that, and we talked about civic numbering and the potential for saving a life. Well, if anything were to happen emergency-wise in our community, it would be a great asset to be able to reach out and tell as many people as possible, notify people quickly, and through the town app we can do that. So, I know we talked about it a lot, but download it and you will get those notifications, which are very useful, especially when they impact you and your water's going to be turned off at 9 o'clock and you go to get in the shower at 9:15 and you don't have any water, and if you had the town app, you would have known you got the shower at 8:30. But anyways, in all seriousness, we're trying to get as many people as we can to download that app as a useful tool. So with that, I don't think there's anything else for this evening. We will have our next meeting, I believe, on March the 7th. So until that time, I'll call for an adjournment. Councillor Browne, seconder. Councillor Pinsent. All those in favor?